You know that feeling, right? When you're super passionate about something. A new project, a big goal, maybe a belief. And then slowly but surely that fire just starts to fizzle out. It can be so hard to keep that spark going. Well, today we're going to dive into a powerful framework for keeping that fire alive. And it's all built around one central, really powerful metaphor.
So the whole idea kicks off with this simple truth. Fire burns out. That's just what it does. The text we're looking at uses this to make a point about our own internal passion. It works the same way. It will naturally fade if we don't actively tend to it. So losing that spark, it's not some kind of personal failure. It's just what happens to an unattended fire.
And this fire metaphor, it really represents our spiritual passion and zeal. The core challenge here isn't if the fire is going to fade, but what on earth we're supposed to do about it when it does.
Which, of course, leads to a super important question. If it's in the nature of passion to fade, whose job is it to keep it going? Who's responsible for keeping that flame alive? The text we're exploring today has a very, very direct answer to that.
And that answer is really the core argument of the whole piece. The responsibility is personal. It's yours. It's not something external. It's not accidental. The source argues that it is an individual's duty to fuel their own spiritual fire.
The whole argument is really built on this key phrase from Scripture. The text sees be aglow and burning, not as some kind of gentle suggestion, but as a direct command. It's an instruction to actually do something, to take action.
So the big takeaway here is that you, personally, are responsible for staying consistently ablaze. The idea is that this passion isn't something you just sit around and wait for. It's something you have to actively generate.
Okay, so if it's our job to keep the fire going, how do we actually do that? What's the secret? Well, the text proposes a really specific solution for staying in that constant state of passion.
The text uses this incredible term, spiritual incandescence. Just think about that for a second. It's the difference between a little flickering candle and a bright, steady light bulb. The goal isn't just to have a tiny flame, but to have a steady, white-hot glow, a constant radiation of spiritual energy.
And the mechanism for getting to that incandescence is what the text calls being filled with the Spirit. Now, this is crucial. The source says this is not a one-and-done event. It's an ongoing, continuous practice that you have to maintain with specific, repeated actions.
And the text breaks this down into 4 concrete daily actions from the book of Ephesians. Now, notice these aren't passive feelings. They are active things you have to do: speaking, singing, giving thanks, and submitting.
All right, so that's the what. Now let's get into the how. This next part is all about the practical methods, the 3 key fuels that the text suggests we should use to actively stoke that spiritual flame every single day.
The framework is pretty straightforward. It's built on 3 key fuels: fellowship, meditation, and prayer. The source doesn't present this like a checklist, but more like a practical daily system for turning that abstract goal of staying ablaze into something real.
Now, the text doesn't just say pray. It actually singles out a very specific type of prayer called prevailing prayer, or intercession. This is all about praying earnestly and persistently for other people. And here's the key insight. The source claims this is one of the most powerful ways to fuel your own spiritual fire.
And this slide really shows the core contrast the text is making. See, just knowing things, having knowledge, that's not enough. The fire can still fade. But when you combine that knowledge with the active energy of fervent prayer, that's what creates what the source calls a divine glow. It even uses this beautiful word, lambent, which means softly glowing, to describe what happens to your spirit.
So, what's the point of all this? Why go to all this effort? Why does the source argue that keeping this spiritual fire going is so critical? Well, this last section explains the ultimate purpose behind the entire practice. So, why have this glow? The text argues it's not just about a feeling. It's deeply practical. It's the thing that empowers you to choose the right path. It's the key to unlocking your purpose. And it's how you actually radiate that divine energy in your everyday life.
And all of this brings us right back to the central question. This text offers a clear answer to the problem of fading passion. It's not sustained by chance or by luck. It's sustained by deliberate, consistent personal action. It really leaves us with a question that goes far beyond just the spiritual. Think about your own life. What's the fire you can't afford to let burn out? And what action will you take today to fuel it?